Chennai, a mega city of about 10 million inhabitants in the south of India. A place of deep-rooted poverty in an increasingly prosperous land. Amidst the incessant bustle, there is much hidden, ignored suffering. Abandoned women, disabled women.
The problem is India's population is very large, challenging all the efforts taken by the government. And India at present needs a lot of awareness and sensitization on what mental health problem is and how to handle it.
Superstition means mentally handicapped women are often thought to be possessed by evil spirits. They are mistreated and beaten, rejected by their families, even dumped on long-distance trains destined for faraway cities. They are forgotten people on the streets, lost, destitute, victims of every kind of violence and abuse. Zoraida Samuel and her team tirelessly help these women in distress when police and social services discover them in dark corners. This evening it is Radhika and her 2 children. We are heading for Paranipatur, where in 2000 Zoraida Samuel and her team set up the very first Rehoboth refuge. The centre houses 125 women. They're from various Indian states with different languages, cultures and diets.
In Indian culture, when a woman has mental health problem, she's abandoned. First she becomes homeless, and then she becomes vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. And then third, she contracts diseases. And after that, by the time she reaches our shelter, she needs both physical and mental attention.
Shelter 1. This is where the women rescued from the streets are brought first. It's here that we find Radhika the day after her arrival. Despite her lack of funds, those who arrive here receive every possible care. It's carefully tailored to take into account each woman's disability. Every aspect is addressed: behavior, hygiene, medical, social, and spiritual needs.
When a woman is picked up from the street, mostly requiring a thorough cleaning because they would have been on the streets with poor personal hygiene. After that, a 1 week's observation for their psychiatric behavior and to see if they have any physical needs. And then we take them to the doctor, do the screening test for tuberculosis, pregnancy, HIV, VTRL.
Then, longer-term treatment starts, covering medical, psychological, and other human needs, focusing on the well-being and rehabilitation of the whole person. Step by step, each woman is introduced to new activities, slowly and steadily rebuilding her life.
Rehoboth at large picks up women from the streets, irrespective of their caste or creed, knowing not what their religion or background is, because pain and suffering knows no religion or background. But after meeting the needs of their food and shelter, it's very important to touch on their spiritual side to make life complete, and we strive to do that also.
Some women who are very sick and sometimes dying can do nothing for themselves. They receive special nursing and care in this separate facility. In Indian culture, when a woman is rejected by her family, her children are also rejected. In response to that, Rehoboth has created a special unit for mothers with children called Arise. Here, the women have their own rooms where we again meet Radhika. The children are educated in local schools, returning to their mothers at weekends and during the school holidays.
So very often we pick up mothers with mental health issues, with children, very small children, tagging behind her on the streets. So when we pick them up and shelter them, we try and see to keep the mother and child together, to keep the bond stronger, where the children can go out to schools and the mothers are rehabilitated here. And it not only keeps the bond stronger, but also improves the mother's mental health in a great way.
Over time, the women rediscover what it's like to have a normal life. Rehoboth has rehabilitation workshops so they can learn new skills as they improve physically and mentally. For some, returning to a relatively independent life will be a long and difficult process.
We've understood that just medication and food doesn't make the life complete for the woman affected with mental health problems. To improve the quality of their life, we have introduced rehabilitation projects through which they focus and attain a sense of productivity.
To reduce the side effects of medical treatment such as drowsiness or inactivity, the day is structured to include different stimulating activities. In the therapeutic workshops, women who are able can learn handicrafts.
We understood that they were concentrating better and responding to medication better when they had something to do regularly. And then they had a schedule for every day. They had to go on a particular time to the workshop and then come back for lunch. And they had something to do very important every day.
The activities are tailored to individual abilities. Those who have good manual coordination are given more skilled tasks. Others are better suited to work requiring physical strength. Some, with greater physical disabilities but higher IQ levels, are able to do things like handle sales orders. It's hugely rewarding for these women to be able to sell what they've made. The Rehoboth Centre in Peranipatur also houses a very special school. It takes in severely disabled children and young adults who live nearby, no more than 15 kilometres away. Disabled children coming from very poor backgrounds have no chance to break free from that poverty. It's a vicious circle that drags down the whole family. Without education or even basic care, many end up on the streets. The school has two main objectives: to provide healthcare and schooling adapted to each child's needs, as well as offering their mothers manual work, creating stability for the whole family.
And the special school as of now caters to 44 children starting from 1.5 years to 38 years. Having children with various disabilities, just mental retardation with physical challenges, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and all the other associated problems like epilepsy and hyperactivity. We have different children and we try to cater to their needs and improve their quality of life before it is too late.
Alongside its demanding everyday activities, Rehoboth wants to raise awareness of the plight of people with mental and physical disabilities. By talking about their work in high schools and colleges, the hope is that future generations will think differently. But the vision of Zoraida Samuel and her team goes much further. It's to rehabilitate these women and make them independent. Once they are healthy again and their general condition has improved, it's best if they are not exposed to the new arrivals who can be violent and aggressive. They can't return to their families, where they would be mistreated and rejected, ending up on the streets again. So, in 2010, Shelter 2 was set up, a second safe haven on a farm in Samangalam. One of those who has suffered and been rehabilitated is Geeta, who told us what happened to her.
I brought in Tambaram, SOS orphanage home. They grown up, then I studied well. They finished diploma, plus 2, and I finished diploma in general nursing. And 1999 I married. 2 children, daughter was born. When my husband I saw in neck, my eyes in hanging. That time I shocked and fainting. I got fainting, and I cried so a lot. I'm now planning. I'm working nurse, staff nurse, as well as help to mentally ill people. Her name is Arti. She's studying 4th standard in boarding school, RCM school, very nice school. Elder one is studying in 9th standard in boarding school.
The women living at Shelter 2 have twin goals: rehabilitation and independence, gained by learning about different aspects of farming and raising livestock. A farm with thousands of free-range chickens, a pig breeding program, 27 sheep and a large and splendid vegetable garden. But in December 2015, 5 years of painstaking hard work was destroyed in a few hours by the terrible floods that struck southern India.
This is our poultry shed. It looks very deserted now. It's because of the recent flood. No, there were around 300 birds inside the shed. Because the water level was this much high, we were not able to come and save the birds. And almost every birds we lost. Hardly we were saved 10 to 15 birds. Not only this shed, even we lost our poultry shed and our long stretched fence and our goat shed. Everything was washed away because of the flood. But we hope soon everything will get all right.
The flood has affected Somangalam, leaving us with a rebuilding expenditure of close to 5 to 6 lakhs, starting with the fence and the road to the sheds.
As well as farm produce and crafts, another source of revenue is the shop, ASER and SLC, located a few kilometers away. The sale of second-hand goods is another source of income for Rehoboth. Books, household items, clothes, furniture are sold, along with farm produce. There are gifts of food as well as donations and bequests from individuals, which all help to cover Rehoboth's running costs. It gets no government funding. In the countryside and the villages around Somangalam, the Rehoboth team was struck by another deep need. The poverty-stricken people living there do not have access to even the most basic medical care. They have nothing, and certainly no money to travel to the nearest town for treatment. The Rehoboth team decided to remedy this by building a medical dispensary.
The idea behind this clinic is to provide free care or subsidized care for the poor in the community, and to make quality and free care available for the residents at our shelter, and to provide subsidized lab facility, and of course to reach out to pain relief and palliative care for the poor dying patients.
The dream became a reality on January 22nd, 2016, when the dispensary opened, with the inauguration attended by numerous invited guests, including the donor of the funds for its construction. On that day, there were free medical checkups for the people from surrounding villages. It was a preview of what Rehoboth will be able to do once there are enough human, technical and financial resources. People seeking treatment turned out in impressively large numbers, confirming the demand.
The future plans for the dispensary would be that we will provide multidisciplinary approach involving Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy in different fields. and then of course start a psychiatric base because of our experience with the mental health, have a counseling unit and a clinical psychology unit here besides psychiatry, and then to take off the pressure of money from the poor people when they go out for treatment, especially big time treatment like cancer or a kidney dialysis, and then of course making the best possible use for our residents as well. We have seen quite a few poor people die in pain. So we decided to use the palliative unit in this dispensary to help poor people who cannot probably afford a lot of painkillers have a peaceful, pain-free death.
Now the new dispensary buildings are in place, ready for use, and they are very much needed.
The hospital requires a lot more volunteers to come in, doctors and nurses, who could help us with consultations and treatments, and especially conducting camps for the community. And material, we will need equipments like an X-ray and a scanning machine, and we have very few equipment in the lab. We will need lab equipments to make it possible for us to do a good job when patients come in, not send them outside and come back to us with the results. My dream for Rehoboth would be that the number of mentally ill women would be lesser on the streets, so Rehoboth will have much lesser women and families would take care of them. There is such a lot of joy to see a girl being rescued from the streets and then see her blossom into a dignified lady here with us, and then to see her come back to normal life and to see that she can talk to me in normal terms, it gives great joy. That cannot be exchanged for anything.
மக்களின் குரல் கேட்டவன் நிதியளித்தான்.